Alexander. So, hi. Thank you for being here. Of course, I'm going to thank Julia in a second, but you're one of the very few and first people who's ever been on 3 episodes now. So, welcome to episode 164. And welcome, Julia, to episode 164 the first time. We'll see Julia I'm sure she'll be back many times. Okay, so Alexander, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I have like a whole new set of questions and hypotheticals from last time.
Awesome. Hi, Dean. I'm Alexander Ferenczi. I'm an agency owner and fractional CMO. So I've been on both sides of the coin, working externally as a vendor and internally as a leader. I work with service-based businesses who want to grow their revenue and use digital marketing to do it. So advertising on social networks, advertising on search engines, and pretty much anywhere that's not one of those two. I started in all of this by working for Gary Vee and VaynerMedia. A lot of people have heard of Gary Vee, and I branched out from there.
All right. Short and succinct. Okay, so you're hypothetically, you've signed you signed up for an engagement. So today's day one. You're actually going to go see somebody, but as it's not virtual this time. You walk in. What's the nightmare scenario, and what's the best case scenario when you walk into a brand new client, brand new project, brand new engagement? It's day one.
I would say dream scenario of day one of working with a client would be that the entire team has been notified that this is taking place. So everyone's sort of structured and understanding that there's going to be an introduction of a new fractional CMO coming into the team, and the ability to have time allocated with department heads, as well as the teams that those departments are running, to be able to start auditing, having messaging alignment and communication with everybody. Let's say the nightmare would be to have no one's expecting this and calendars are filled up, and there is no time to actually meet right at the beginning to start everything, because everything really flows from the initial meeting point and everything that spreads after that.
Right. And what one thing do you think characterizes a dream scenario?
I would say a dream scenario would be based on the ability to have buy-in from the CEO. As long as the CEO is the champion of this fractional CMO engagement, everyone else seems to fall in line with that. So as long as the CEO is championing and supportive of this, everything normally falls in line.
All right. No, totally makes sense. Hey, Julia. Hi.
Hi, Dean.
Juliet, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I want to ask about your dream and nightmare scenarios walking into a new client engagement.
Yeah, so my name is Julia. I've got 13 years marketing experience. I founded Juice Agency 5 years ago. I'm also an agency owner and a fractional CMO. So I've had the privilege of working with hundreds small to mid-sized companies here around the US. There are lots of service providers, lots of tech companies, very, very broad. And yes, CMO work is some of my favorite type of work that I get to do. But at the heart of it all, I'm a strategist. So in the agency, I look after our strategy and CMO clients.
Right. So you walk into a new engagement, you look at the landscape, you're like, what makes your stomach go, this again? Or what's like, oh, wow. What's the dream and nightmare scenario for the walk-in?
For me, it's absolutely a client that has a really clear vision and a long-term business plan, and it doesn't change. Because a lot of the times I'll work with clients and they will start with one concept, we'll put a strategy into place, and maybe it wasn't as solid as they had kind of thought of. And then with changes come a lot of challenges. So I would definitely say having a client that's really done the kind of the pre-work, that has the right consultants in place, has the right team in place, and really is very clear on their vision. Because like I then tell them, I become their left-hand woman, and I essentially just take their vision and distill it, make sure it's perfect when it comes to the marketing. So I would definitely say the vision is a really, really important piece.
Okay. Now, let's switch scenarios. Julia, you're on stage, you're the speaker, you're talking to an audience, 250 people in the audience. Every one of them left corporate and became a fractional CMO yesterday.
Yeah.
They're brand new in this world, okay? Just finish this thought for me. You're talking to these folks and you're saying, as a new fractional CMO, starting out, the thing you're going to be most shocked by is what?
Clients don't actually know what a fractional CMO is there for.
Okay.
So they hire you, they engage you, they sign everything, all the paperwork, and actually
Julia comes out swinging. Sure. Okay, go for it. Yeah.
And they'll either, I mean, as a CEO, there's so many different areas of the business you have to focus in on, right? So for me, it's a constant reminder game. So I actually like to share and reshare some more, all the areas that I can support my clients on, actually down to a monthly basis. In my agency, we actually have a team of CMOs. So that's something that I was actually speaking to one of our other CMOs about yesterday, was just creating a bit of a menu and really just being very, very clear in all the general things we can help with, but also just being extremely particular with, for you, Mr. Client, specific client, this is the actual projects that I think I can add most value on, and then just continuing to kind of repeat that so it's always top of mind.
Okay, that's good. And Alexander, what do you think? You're the speaker, 250 brand spanking new fractional CMOs. The thing they're going to be most shocked by starting out as a fractional CMO these days is what?
Yeah, well, you had mentioned that it's a room full of 200 plus corporate executives that are now going and charting onto their own.
Yeah.
I would say that the small, medium business world is extremely different from the corporate structures that they're probably accustomed to. There's likely not going to be a centralized database source where they have their CRMs and all their automations and all of their digital asset management sort of hub together and well structured. Right. You're going into the zoo. So essentially, you're going to have to corral all these things together. So become comfortable with the uncomfortable. And most of all, remember, you are a fractional CMO. Have your boundaries, have your accountabilities, and remember that you have a certain allocation. At times, clients can become dependent, to use a word, even addicted to the fractional CMO. So as you become independent, it's important to have those barriers for yourself, as well as just clear boundaries for your client engagements, understanding that you're there to lead. You're not necessarily there to do the work. You're there to help build the internal knowledge, the internal team, the internal systems, and the internal processes to empower the marketing team to be the real champion at that organization.
I think the best quote I ever read, it was about marketing small businesses. And it said, a small business is not a little big business. It's its own thing. It's not just a tinier version of a big corporation. Okay, so Alexander, you're still on stage. You're talking to these folks, and so you kind of move into the next of the three parts you're trying to tell them, and so you finish this thought. When you're a fractional CMO, you'll find many clients just don't understand what.
They don't understand marketing's alignment with sales. So a lot of times you see a lot of busy bees on the marketing teams of these organizations, right? Where they're doing things for the sake of doing things because historically they were done this way, and they don't actually drive the needle on revenue, right? So a lot of times people think our traffic isn't converted. We need better traffic. We need more traffic. In fact, you don't need more. You just need better quality traffic. Or our ad campaigns aren't working. We need to spend more on ads. You don't need to spend more. You need better nurture sequences, better targeting, and better creative. So a lot of the times people think in marketing, more is more, when in reality, in the world of marketing, simplicity outperforms complexity and less is more. It's all about being targeted, understanding the ICP and the personas of the customer avatars, and speaking directly to their pain points. So I would say, in marketing, a lot of people don't understand what marketing is actually driving from a leadership perspective, and then being sure that you're not only able to speak in the marketing lingo, terms, and buzzwords, but you're going to be talking with operations, you're going to be talking with finance, you're going to be talking with HR. So understanding all of these departmental languages, because everything is tied to revenue at the end of the day.
Julia, how about you for helping out these poor corporate refugees, right? Many of their clients are just not going to understand what.
I would say the power of strategy. So a lot of the time clients just want to jump in. So even though they'll come to you and they say, we want long-term growth. We don't want to look spammy. We don't want to look scammy. We really want the long-term stuff. But when you really get into it, they just want to jump right into campaigns and they just really want to start to see results yesterday. So I think for me, it's really just an educational piece around the power of strategy, about the power of having a solid foundation before you kind of start to run into campaigns. And essentially, it's not that difficult to get them on board with this, because it is just all around sharing with them that it's just saving you budget. So if we're going to jump into campaigns, we miss the foundation setting, the brand is off, the messaging's off, that we don't have the right target demographics kind of aligned and customer personas, it's just going to be one giant mess. So anytime I've had a client skip that step, they always come back to me and they always say, okay, fine, let's reel everything back in again. Let's do a review. Let's put a strategy in place. So I would definitely say for CMOs getting into the space, it's just, being really, really clear on the power of strategy and having your own kind of Also upskilling, so like Alexander said, upskilling so you are able to work with smaller brands, because corporate strategy is totally different, like you said, in comparison to smaller businesses. So I would say also upskilling so you can be more scrappy with tiny budgets, so you can lean more on automation, so you really know how to plug in freelancers as an example, because not every team member, if there's a hole, not every team, sorry, if there's a hole, can afford to just hire in. So I would say those are some of the things that I would say.
And then, yeah, you're still on stage, but the organizers are like, okay, clue it up, finish up. And so you want to leave them with one idea as you like move off the stage. And so, give them your best lesson that you've learned for getting the next client.
For getting the next client, the best lesson, you just have to be the best. Honestly, you have to really just show case studies. You have to show results. You have to be able to, you have to really understand the client and their pain points. For me, all I ever focus on is results, but also the culture. I have an incredible team behind me, and that really just shines through. So I think it's showcasing leadership skills. It's showcasing that you're a team player. For me, I'm really, really interested in my clients and their vision, as I and their vision, what they want to do with the business. And like I said, how I can support that come to life. And also just demonstrating that you have their best interests at heart. I'm not here just to get paid and then log off and I don't really care what's happening. I really, really, truly care. And they can see that through, for example, the tools that I would recommend. I can say, hey guys, I know this isn't my area, but maybe in sales, we could use a tool like Apollo AI for your sales guys to do some outreach. So it's really just caring and seeing the bigger picture and just taking all the learnings from all the hundreds of other startups and small businesses I've worked with and actually sharing the intel. I always say I don't really keep any secrets. I like to just give as much value as I possibly can. And I think that's something that I would strongly recommend.
Yeah. And Alexander, what's your sort of, I'm leaving the stage, but I want to make sure you guys understand this one thing about getting clients.
Yeah. So I would say when it comes to getting clients, it's really all comes down to the same way anyone makes any purchase decision. And it's all rooted in proof, whether it's social proof, authority proof, case studies as proof. I think the best way you can get proof from your work at another organization is, like I said, you are there to help elevate the internal team. So when you get testimonials and you have quotes and you have, these video assets, not only from the CEO, but all of the additional marketing team members that are supporting you and saying, thank you so much for the way you were able to help me, fight this obstacle and overcome it. How I was able to get this promotion, helping individuals scale makes them your champions. And more so than that, there is two ways to scale a business, right? You can scale a business through new customer acquisitions, or you can scale a business while scaling the lifetime value of those customers. When we engage with our, service-based organizations that want to hire me directly as a fractional CMO, we start off with an engaged service of 10 hours a week. We'll normally run that for about 2 to 3 quarters max. After that, we move to an advisory where now we don't need that allocation of 10 hours a week. We're moving to about 3 hours a week and just making sure the internal team is still doing that work. And then we transfer to essentially a once-a-year meeting with them where we're just refining the annual roadmap. We're looking back at last year's analytics and results and positioning them for a better future forward. So I would say you want to keep that relationship with your customers, but make sure that they're able to evolve past you. So you're able to give them that initial plug-in and juice, but they don't need to rely on you for long-term success. And then championing the internal team so that they are your biggest vocal cord and sort of raving fans moving forward, because you never know where those individuals may end up as well.
True. Okay, so let's shift to our third of 3 hypotheticals. And this is about you're out in the world, you're talking to prospective clients and recently signed clients. The thing about marketing is that almost everyone believes, or everyone, maybe we'll say knows, we won't say believes. We'll give them everyone knows at least something about marketing, whether they've ever worked in marketing or not, right? And so as you're talking to prospective clients these days, they're bringing up topics, they're asking questions. What do they tend to talk about that you think is overrated? And what's sort of underrated or unappreciated that you think a lot of your clients could benefit from paying more attention to? Alexander.
Yeah. So I would say a marketer's and a marketing team's biggest fault is shiny object syndrome, right? As marketers, we're constantly seeking new opportunities, new disruption, new innovation. So we chase these shiny objects and they distract from the real goal at hand, which are the fundamentals. So I would say, straying away from those shiny objects and really focusing on the foundations that drive a business forward, which is what is your reason to believe, whether it's emotional or functional, that someone should work with you? What is the irresistible offer crafted that allows for an entrance? What are the abilities to upsell and cross-sell from that opportunity? How do we use email, SMS, and routine status update calls to nurture those customers into becoming evangelized customers and not just a transaction? And then more so than that, I would say that being a great marketer just isn't enough, right? You need to be a great business partner. So most fractional CMOs focus only on the marketing tactics, but the best ones act as a strategic advisor to the CEO, speaking the language of finance, sales, and operations, being outcome driven and accountable for revenue, and knowing that the only way to change a company within is not just with processes, but it's because of the people. They're the ones that determine success. So, in terms of going fractional, it's not about delivering strategy in a vacuum. It's more so about integrating with leadership and driving business growth, not just making the results.
And Julia, what do you think? What's overrated right now in marketing when you're talking to folks, and what's underrated?
I would say underrated is definitely the foundation piece. So something that a lot of clients overlook is the power of a solid CRM. It's setting everything up accurately and really taking that time to make sure everything's measurable, tracked, that kind of all of that, the systematic back end is absolutely perfect and aligned. So when I start working with a client, that's typically one of the first things that I like to do is just make sure that we're totally set up on the back end, but also on the reporting, so they can see how everything that we're doing feeds into the bottom line. So again, I think a lot of clients just really try to skip past that point. They just want to see the numbers shift. So I really try and kind of balance that out by maybe setting a little bit of the foundation up at the same time as running some tests. So that way the client's still happy, but I'm still doing my job in terms of long-term kind of sustainable marketing setup. And then the things that the clients typically tend to go crazy for and get very excited about is just all the different things that you can do in marketing. So once we have a strategy in place, I, as a strategist and a CMO, I will prioritize the projects that will get them the best return on investment. I get the client totally on board. Everybody's happy. 1 month in, the client sees something that a competitor's doing. They're like, let's try outdoor media. Let's try, I had someone say gas station TV advertising, when we've already just about set all the budget in place. So I would definitely say it's just having the incredible amount of different options that are available out there. And it's really just the job of the CMO to hone in and just to really, of course, take the client kind of wishes and wants into consideration, but at the same time, just really lead as an expert, as a marketing expert, right? So I would say those two are definitely the ones.
So Julia, staying with the concept of talking to prospects, right? You're talking to a prospect. What's a red flag when you're like, these guys are not ready for me, or these guys are not a good fit for any fractional CMO? What's a red flag when you're talking to prospects?
I have so many red flags when I'm talking.
Oh no!
So how many do you want? Okay, I'll give you one. I would say team misalignment is probably a huge one, and also budget. Those are two kind of blaring red flags. So someone that's unrealistic with their budget, and also someone, a client that has a lot of different stakeholders in the business, and maybe I've had clients that just haven't been aligned internally. So you have a CEO, you have a founder, you have a CEO, maybe they hire some consultants, and that can be extremely complicated. So having a clear lead to work with and a clear owner, clear CEO, whoever it is really much, much, much cleaner and simpler. But definitely the alignment piece and budget. A lot of clients come with extremely unrealistic budgets. So it's just about setting the expectations, because there's it's really important to be on the same page and kind of provide value. I don't want to just sign a client and then for it to become a disaster a month later. So
fair enough. And Alexander, how about you? What's a red flag, or even what's a green flag when you're talking to prospects? You're thinking, this is going to be a good match.
Yeah. So I would say the red and green flag when talking with prospects is understanding where they want to go, right? And everyone has a vision of where they want to go, but having a clear path in terms of how you want to get there, that being understanding the unit economics of the business, understanding what are the goals that you're striving for in the upcoming quarter, upcoming year, and potentially even 5 or 10 year plans, and having those be realistic, not necessarily super conservative that we're anticipating to be able to grow 3% year over year. We could be a little bit more aggressive than that, but having things actually be measurable and tangible, and be able to ask that question of saying, well, what is the customer lifetime value of your customers acquired over the last 12 months? And them being able to have an answer to that question. Understanding what is the
Right.
allowable customer acquisition cost for the business? What is the profit scaling margin on acquisitions? These are vital questions that aren't talking about your CPMs, your click through rates, your nurture sequences. It has nothing to do with the itty gritty details that most marketers get lost in. These are what are the vital core engines of your business that propel you forward. If someone is unable to answer those questions, we're going to find a lot of skeletons in that closet. But if someone can answer those questions off the cuff, they know their numbers, that to us is the ideal star prospect that we want to work with.
That's great. Okay, so one of the things we do when you guys were introducing yourselves, it was clear that you're like there's some overlap and actually adjacency. That's not necessarily common here because guest pairings are not curated, which is to say everyone picks their own time slot, and it's almost like you're in a building full of fractional CMOs. You're in an elevator, one other person gets in, and hey, you're also a fractional CMO because you're in this building. And so what we do now in season 7 is we let each guest ask the other guest. I mean, technically you could ask me, but why bother? You ask the other fractional CMO a question about, being a fractional CMO or business or whatever you want. And so, Alexander, what question, if any, would you want to ask Julia?
Yeah. So, I mean, Julia, I'll ask this question. I feel like sometimes it's almost the gritty, non-budgetary kinds of scenarios where great campaign ideas or tactics come to life. So, my question to you is, what is the most unconventional but successful marketing strategy you've implemented for a client?
That's a good question. We've done a lot of crazy stuff, to be honest. So, your question is around the smallest budget and biggest impact. Is that right?
Or just what's the most unconventional but successful marketing strategy you've implemented?
Um, well, actually, we took so one of the most unconventional campaigns that we ran, which we actually saw really, really great results was the gas station TV advertising that we did for a health client that we saw incredible results with. Actually, they had incredible amount of footfall. We did a really beautiful awareness campaign, and we also activated it with a lot of social. So that was actually wasn't too costly either. So that was really just a great example of being in the right place with the right target audience in the right location with the right messaging with the right brand with the right credibility. So that really was one where stars definitely aligned. So I would say that is probably one of the examples that comes to mind from recent times. And can I ask you a question now?
Yes, it is now your turn. Yes.
So I would love to know, how do you provide the most amount of value? So how would you to just delight to go over and above what you do day to day? How do you how do you blow clients away?
Yeah, so we blow them by essentially having all of our measurement tied to revenue. If we cannot tie a metric or result to revenue, we aren't really talking about anything other than that with our customers. So the way we delight them is focusing on revenue generating opportunities, and being able to essentially come in, give a couple of quick wins, but keeping in mind the long term vision. So I think a lot of times you can almost compare a fractional CMO engagement with somebody as a software that someone signs up for, right? Where if you sign up for a software, but the task of implementing the software is too daunting and you don't start to see results from the software subscription, you're going to churn after 3 months. So for us, it's about coming in, providing a sprint early on to get those quick wins, to incentivize the customer to feel, wow, this is working. There's a lot of confidence. Now they sort of give us more rope to do more of the tasks that we want to do, building that trust and confidence with them. And from there, once we have the rope, we tend to tell our customers, give us as much rope as you can. We're either going to swing with it or we're going to hang ourselves with it, but at least give us the opportunity.
All right, guys, this has been fast moving and spirited. I love it. Okay, so Julia, as we wind down, who should be reaching out to you these days, and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I would love to connect with other fractional CMOs. We are actually doing a big recruitment drive right now to hire some fractional CMOs to join my team. And then generally speaking, we're open to to work with ambitious clients at any time. So you can find me on juiceagency.com or on LinkedIn under Julia Ager. And I would love to hear from anyone that's kind of tuned in today.
All right. And Alexander, who should be contacting you these days and how?
Yeah, I would say service-based businesses, mostly on Main Street, so not so much Wall Street. So if you're a Main Street
Mm-hmm.
business looking to really, bring yourself into the digital age, we are seeing a massive opportunity right now with sort of a disruption taking place with the boomer sort of trades and local
Right.
service businesses going
Mm-hmm.
into an acquisition process. So if someone wants to get out of their Main Street business and really have a revolution internally to be able to get a higher exit, they can get in contact with us either through myself at Alexander Ferenczi on LinkedIn, or they can go to advocacy.com, which is right here underneath in this white box. We're currently offering free growth audits right now to anybody that signs up. So come for a free growth audit, no strings attached. We'll let you know how to refine your digital presence. And if you'd like to work with us, then by all means, we welcome the opportunity and hope to scale their service-based business.
All right, guys, Julia, Alexander, thanks for being here. This has been great. Thanks for watching. And folks, we'll see you in the next one. Adios.